We are back at the self-reliant thing. Alright, we ended at an interesting note yesterday. Alright, where were we? I marked this to make myself remember, I think. Actually, something that I did forget was that we go over here. Then like that, and like that, and we move it over here, and that's probably fine. Oops. Yeah, a lot of shit happens in war, that is for sure. Alright. Some music on. Alright, the soul raised over passions behold identity and eternal causation, perceives the self-existence of truth and right, and calms itself with knowing that all things go well. Vast spaces of nature, the Atlantic Ocean, the South Sea, long intervals of time, years, centuries are of no account. This which I think and feel underlay every former state of life and circumstance, as it does underlie my present and what is called life and what is called death. Alright, that's the end. I remember now. The whole idea was that everybody should do their own thing in life, right? And I took it a little different path from this, right? Because the example we used yesterday was that, right? I'm the analytical type of person, right? In thought, I would consider myself, right? I'm not super self-reliant, but I do a lot of it, right? I like thinking and analyzing, philosophizing and whatnot. And the idea then would be that that is not for everybody, right? Not everybody has that background or that genetic predisposition for these things. And if they don't, then spending a lot of time arguing that they should is a mistake, right? Just like maybe some other person is just super into baseball and that's their life, right? That's the thing they care about. They don't analyze, they're more of a physical being, right? Where they like just smashing that ball or golf or whatever, right? More physical being and less analytical. Then saying that they should be analytical is probably a mistake. You should do you, right? The thing we have school for, though, is, right, that is where we have school comes in, because there is a lowest level of competency in different areas, right? There's a lowest level difficulty in reading and writing, speaking, like communication, right? And there's also like physical well-being, or maybe there should be a minimal competency, and there should be a minimal competency in ethics, right? That's, or critical thinking, or whatever you want to call it, right? Just some things that politically we can decide that everybody should know this, but that should be, right, from this point of view, especially from this point of view, right? All that should be, there should be a goal to minimize the time spent learning these things, and instead, right? Instead, school and society and what you do with your life and time should be more focused, right? Reduce the amount of time where you have to learn and do these things, and increase the time spent on doing whatever it is that you do, right? Whatever floats your boat. Something that made me think yesterday as well, actually. What do we have here? Something about Reddit. Diagram of underground tunnels used by the... Alright. Chab. Give. Yeah, I've seen this before. The text is kinda unreadable though. Northerner says, I played your King Rabbit level. Nice. You can watch replays of people playing your level if you want to test that out. Oh, nice. I'll do that tomorrow, yeah. I'm not starting up King Rabbit again, but yeah, definitely. I'll check that out tomorrow. Can I... Ah, here we go. Here it becomes readable. Alright, bait a Viet Cong decoy lures an American into an infantry trap, and then you had spider holes. A sniper waits for Americans from an entrenchment from which there are easy escape into the tunnel system. Yeah, tripwire grenade traps are the most common traps found in tunnels. The 60 or 120 zigzag of the tunnels do not give the American soldiers a clear view into the tunnels. Corpses in the walls to keep Americans from estimating their losses. The dead were buried as soon as possible, sometimes directly into a wall, because the humidity, the bodies quickly decayed, filling the top level of the tunnels with a distinct stench. Gross. Classic pit trap with punji spikes. Oh. Americans tried to use service dogs to search for tunnel entrances. Viet Cong then began to place stolen American uniforms at entrances, confusing the dogs. If the service tunnel dogs nevertheless got into the tunnels, they most often perished in the traps. Right, mini infirmary. Some caves were equipped with medicines and special ventilation, where the wounded guerrilla could rest in bed and gain strength. Side niches are located deep in the tunnels, where the Viet Cong wait for Americans passing by. Very guerrilla-like, yeah. Manure gates. Right. Village entrances to the tunnels were often located in pig corrals, hidden under a layer of manure. Even the most meticulous searches by Americans could miss these. I think that this is a thing of the past, though. I think war has moved on from this. There are more high-grade explosives, right? I suppose you could still do this, but... Right, controlling territory with soldiers feels like it's more and more becoming a thing of the past. Maybe guerrilla war is the thing of the future. People hiding and just attacking people in cities, right? So maybe these tunneling things still is viable. I don't know. Right. Garrote ambush. When Americans pushed their heads through narrow manholes, sometimes Viet Cong were there waiting with a garrote. Yeah. Soldiers on a stick, hidden in a niche covered with a thin wall of clay. Viet Cong would see Americans coming through viewing holes and stab them with spears. Scorpion trap. If Americans stumbled over a string, a door would open, filling the tunnel with scorpions. Oh, wow. Mine well. When faced with a steep shaft in the tunnel, grenades would fall on the Americans from above. After throwing them, the Viet Cong would close the entrance and hold it down with a sandbag. Sentry snakes. Bamboo viper was tied to a scaffolding in the ceiling. Americans would shoot at it, thus warning about their approach. If they did not notice the snakes, they would suffer from a venomous bite. Cinema propaganda films were shown where actors would raise the soldiers' fighting spirits. Oh, nice. That's surprising. Military hospital. The ceiling and walls were enclosed by parachutes so that bacteria living in the soil could not cause infection if it fell onto the patients. Alright. More spikes. We've got some cooking. We got weapons caches. Yeah, weapon factories even. Bicycle generator. Cool. Underground wells. Stockpiles. Smoke grenades. Poisonous gas to clear the tunnels. Frequently they had problems with the gas because it dissipated very slowly. Oh yeah. Poison gas. That seems like yeah. Water barriers often used to protect the tunnels from gas. Ah, right. This you do in Oxygen Not Included. Water traps to protect gas. Telephone wire. Americans left. Alright, this is... Alright. Mole hole. The narrow entrances where Viet Cong could barely squeeze through often blocked Americans. If gas was used, the Viet Cong inside awaited certain death. Oof. And sleeping quarters and hidden door flaps. A lot of stuff indeed. Northerner says, I assume if you were wanted by the police, this might be a good place to hide. Yeah, during searches, right? Northerner says, I'm watching too many true crime documentaries. I've been watching a few too many. Alright, that was a sidetrack. That was a sidetrack indeed. Alright. Something that triggered my thinking yesterday about this, right, was that the you do you attitude, right, and society wanting that. And it was just a tangent I went on was, what are the arguments, like the personal arguments for an individual to follow the law? I mean, from a societal point of view, right, it makes sense to, right, society wanting it to follow your law, like in a group, right? But it kind of feels like I follow the law because I want you to follow the law. That's like one argument, right? Just to create a norm of people following the law. But that's not a very strong argument for obeying the law. I mean, the fear of consequences, right? Getting caught would be another argument, which is kind of a boring argument. I'm more looking for an ethical argument. Is there an argument for me following a law that I don't agree with? Right? Let's say speeding, for example. As a law and being punished, well... Yeah, speeding is a good example, because that is a thing that I do from time to time. Even though I think it's all right, to have... Or pirating, right? I'm talking about the software pirating thing. I'm not against that kind of activity. I don't think it should be illegal, or taking drugs. Right? What are the arguments for not doing these things because they are the law? Because if you can't get people to follow the law, right, then... I don't know. Northerner says you can never con an honest John. What is an honest John? And why Why couldn't you? I mean, you can con anyone, can't you? Alright. Move on. Life only avails, not the having lived. Actually, I'm a little bit curious here. Avails? This? Here we go. Avail. To be use of or advantage, to help. Right. Alright, so only being alive is useful, not the having lived. As a just a pure black and white statement like that, I would have to say no, right? Your life is built upon the having lived, right? Right? You have learned everything in your past, and it has created the present. And, right, if your parents and their parents and their parents and their parents never had lived, then there would be no life, right? Life depends on the having lived. Alan Wolfmonkey says, is that a quote from one of your true crime documentaries? Maybe? Not only says, I'm off to bed, have a good one. Alright, yeah, sleep well. Thanks for hanging out today. And have a good one. Alright, so I guess I have to... Honest John. Isn't that John a bathroom? Disney fandom. Honest John is a tall and slender anthropomorphic red fox with a beige face and a muscle. It's like a Disney thing. It's one of the first two antagonists in... That's an antagonist, eh? Oh, he is a con artist, right. Can't con a con artist? Of course you can. Does that thing again. Sometimes it just does that thing. Where are we at? Here we go. Right. Power ceases in the instant of repose. It resides in the momentum of transition from past to a new state, in the shooting of the gulf, in the darting to an aim. This one fact the world hates, that the soul becomes. For that forever degrades the past, turns all riches into poverty, all reputation to shame, confounds the saints with rogues, shoves Jesus and Judas equally aside. Wait, why does the world hate that fact? Equal in death? You did create stuff during your life, right? Again, right? If my parents hadn't lived, then I wouldn't have lived. If their parents hadn't have lived, I wouldn't have lived. It's also the world hates? I don't know. Degrades the past? I don't know. Why then do we prate of self-reliance? Inasmuch as the soul is present, there will be power not confident but agent. To talk of reliance is a poor external way of speaking. Speak rather of that which relies, because it works and is. Who has more obedience than I masters me? Though he should not raise his finger. Round him I must revolve by the gravitation of spirits. We fancy it rhetoric when we speak of eminent virtue. Eminent virtue. Eminent, eh? We do not yet see that virtue is height, and that a man of, or a company of men, plastic and permeable to principles by the law of nature, must empower and ride all cities, nations, kings, rich men, poets, who are not. Oh man, I wasn't even really paying attention. This heat, I think, is getting to me. I'm getting tired already. We haven't really just started reading and I'm tired already. Talk of self-reliance is a poor external way of speaking. Talk of reliance. Of that which relies. So... height. We do not yet see that the virtue is height, and that a man of company of men, plastic and permeable to principles, by the law of nature, must overpower and ride all cities, nations, kings, rich men. And who are not what? Oh, these are not plastic and permeable? I don't know. Let's keep going. This is the ultimate fact which we so quickly reach on this, as on every topic. The resolution of all into ever-blessed one. Self-existence is the attribute of the supreme cause. It constitutes the measure of good by the degree in which it enters all lower forms. All things real are so by much virtue as they contain. Commerce, husbandry, hunting, whaling, war, eloquence, personal weight are somewhat and engage my respect as examples of its presence and impure action. I see the same law working in nature for conservation and growth. Power is in nature the essential measure of right. Nature suffers nothing to remain in her kingdoms which cannot help itself. Yeah. I've thought about that before, that it's... right? Evolution is about the species, not individuals, right? Evolution happens on a species level, right? Right. People often talk about sheep being very sheepish and whatnot, right? Being weak, and a sheep cannot really help itself against a wolf, right? That's the metaphor. But the thing is that the sheep has survived, right? It is not about strength, it's about adaptability. Can you survive in your environment? As a species, right? The way rabbits do it is just by boinking like crazy, right? That's how rabbits do it. I could easily, well, not super easily, but I could catch a rabbit, kill a rabbit, eat a rabbit. Like, I would be the one that it could not help itself in that situation. But right, if I wanted to exterminate, I guess humanity could exterminate rabbits if we tried. But there are species we cannot exterminate even if we tried, right? let's say humanity just decided today that, alright, we're gonna kill all ants. Could we? If I decided as a person, I'm gonna kill all ants. So to conflate, right? I don't think the evolution works as a metaphor in this situation. In this context, yeah, I don't think it works. Banana Waffle Mix says, well, not without taking ourselves out as well. How many nuclear armaments exists now? Oh, right, yeah. No, I was thinking specifically like war on ants. I mean, I could probably kill millions of ants if I tried, but I could not get rid of a species. Also, that's another point, right? That you make. You don't... People... Like, nothing exists in a vacuum, right? All into one. Everything exists in nature. So helping others might be helping yourself. Well, not even might. That is the world we find ourselves in. The society we find ourselves in is that helping others is helping yourself. Right. What is good for you is good for me. Not black and white, but it can be, right? It can be. It's not necessarily, but like, same with ants, right? Helping the ants might be helping us out. Helping the bees is a good idea, right? Since the bees are having issues at the moment. And those problems that the bees have at the moment, they are ending up becoming our problem. Like, as a species, and because they are becoming our problem as a species, they are becoming my problem as an individual. Yeah. It's all a coherent system, right? We live in an ecosystem. Right. Nature suffering nothing to remain in her kingdom, right? We're part of nature. So yeah, also, right, help itself, yeah, do not exist in a vacuum. Let's see, Banana Waffle Monkey says help spiders too, they eat shit we really don't want around. Yeah, right, I think most spiders, right, as long as they stay the fuck away from me. Is there a spider problem at the moment? I know I've heard about the bee problem, right? I've heard about insects problems. I haven't heard that the spiders are having any issues at the moment. The genesis and maturation of a planet, its poise and orbit, the bended tree recovering itself from the strong wind, the vital resources of every animal and vegetable are demonstration of the self-sufficing, therefore the self-relying soul. That was many years ago, but I remember we had a fucking harsh storm. There's a lot of forests, right? There's forests all around, and there were like big storms ripping down trees left and right. And what are the trees that survive? Those are the ones that are deeper into the forest, not on the edges, that do not get hit, right? It's the outer layer of the forest takes the brunt force of the wind, while the further in you get, like, the wind doesn't get there, right? It's like a shield wall. And they become like Sure, there are individual trees that might just keep on standing and just keep to the wind, right? Bend the tree and recover itself from the strong wind. Some trees might do that. Other trees rely on other trees, right? It's cherry picking indeed. But it's got a point, right? There is value in being able and maybe not sacrificing other trees for your own benefit. Maybe that's not the kind of, well, that's not what I would want to see in humanity. It is that way, right? At the moment. Some are more disposable than others in society. And I don't like that. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get away from that. I can imagine, well, we can probably get away from it from a societal point of view, but my understanding is that people will sacrifice themselves for others. I could see myself doing that, right? I could see parents sacrificing themselves, seeing themselves as disposable in regards to their children. I mean, if we're talking about evolution, that kind of makes sense, right? The survival of the species, save the children, sacrifice yourself, right? It is not about helping yourself, it's about helping. That urge would make sense, right? Yeah. I've seen other animals doing that, right? Save the children, like interspecies wise, right? We don't only save the children from our own species, but from other species as well, right? We find baby animals, we find them way more cute, and we say, oh, that kind of feeling we get when we see them, right? That protect feeling, yeah. And one way to protect the children is making them self-reliant, right? In the aspects where they have to be.
Deep breath, Hardigan. Settle down and think straight.
I mean, I guess that is why a lot of people in politics are they want to stabilize, right? They want to build an empire that will stand for 1,000 years, and an unchanging one, right? Because you want to protect the children. And if the world turns out to be chaotic and society shifts and changes over time, you don't know, right? You want to control that society so that it works for your children. And there it's like, that is probably a mistake, which kind of this text agrees with, right? That don't depend on societal structures to help you out. You can depend on people in the situation, right? In the current life, not, right? You cannot depend on people 10 years in the future, but you can depend on people in the now, and you can be not self-helping, but you can be adaptable as a person. If we want to learn something, we can be adaptable, right? Lifelong learning and all that. The future is gonna look different. That is just how it's gonna be. So try to find your way to be adaptable to said future. Yeah. Thus all concentrates. Let us not rove, let us sit at home with the cause. Let us stun and astonish the intruding rabble of men and books and institutions by a simple declaration of the divine fact. Bid the invaders take the shoes off their feet, for God is here within. Let our simplicity judge them, and our docility to our own law demonstrate the poverty of nature and fortune beside our native riches. Let our simplicity judge them, and our docility to our own law I mean, something that I heard was that, like, a lot of people like criticism of society and its structures, right? I like doing that. I really love, right? Looking out, oh, look how trash the monetary system is, and consumerism, that attitude. On the other hand, one could argue that humanity as a species is at its height of its power right now with the structures that we have. And there are a lot of stuff that's happening that is dangerous to humanity and might cause negative consequences, but that's speculation. If you just look at the now and the structures we have had for a while, right, they are good and bad and could definitely use some improvements, right? Definitely. There's always improvements to be made. But are we really that poor? Was it like 40% of... No, was it more than that? I remember looking access to a smartphone. Was it 40% of all the people who had access to a smartphone? And it's growing, right? Every year. That's a lot of power in the hand of a person, right? I don't know if that's true, but what I've heard is that there is more computing power in this thing here than what it took to send someone to the moon. Even if it's... right, even if it's not... even if it's not true, it's still... there's a point, right? There is a point. Isn't the person with a calculator this strong more self-reliant by the nature of having access? Just, right? You're dependent on others to get your hand on the tool, but after you have access to the tool, when you have access, if only the now matters, then the now where you have access to the tool, you are more self-reliant, right? If I have a question, I can look up the answer on the internet. Most likely, someone has already answered that question. And that, like, sure, I'm dependent on their answer, but I don't have to do as much work for it. I don't know. But now we're a mob. Man does not stand in awe of man, nor is his genius admonished to stay at home, to put itself in communication with the internal ocean, but it goes abroad to beg a cup of water off the urns of other men. Yeah, right? That's exactly what I said, right? That is what we do, but... actually, I would flip this all around. I would say that there is an ocean of knowledge that other men has already created. It's called Wikipedia, right? And what I have already inside of me, that is the cup of water. Or the urns, whatever, right? My subconscious and my knowledge, right, might be the urn, and what is readily available is the cup. I don't know. But knowledge, if we're talking epistemology here, right? The genius of man. I'm assuming we're talking about knowledge when we're talking about genius. Right? The genius of man. That is my assumption, right? Of course, there is way more of it in the rest of society, right? Simple math, probably mistaken, but right? I have, like, whatever, right? Let's say that I have an eternal ocean. And then we add you to the mix. Alright, so now we're 2 people. So we've got 2 oceans. That's almost twice the size. Twice the size, right? Twice the size. 2 is bigger than 1. Right? I like the silent church before the service begins. Better than any preaching. I mean, I can enjoy both. Banana Waffle Monkey says, funny how often water/oceans get used in the epistemic/informational analogies. Alright, yeah. Depth. We talk about depth and breadth of knowledge. Why is that? It is because when you look to the ocean, it's the vast unknown, right? It gets that imagery, right? There is so much to be explored, right? That, yeah, the exploration imagery, because that is, for a long time, right? You knew your surrounding area, but then when we started exploring longer and longer as a human species, we did that by water. That was where the exploration happened. It makes me think of Apocalypse Now. Cue the clip? No? Or Heart of Darkness, right? They travel along the river. I suppose, right? Yeah. Surfing the web? Oh, wow, yeah. Surfing the web. The web is like... That's the network, but we're talking about surfing on it? That's such a weird analogy, right? It doesn't really compute, does it, semantically? Right. How far off, how cool, how chaste the persons look. Begirt each one with a precinct or sanctuary. So let us always sit. Why should we assume the faults of our friend, or wife, or father, or child because they sit around our hearth? Or are said to have the same blood? Do have the same blood. It's not, right? That came after this text's time, but we do have the same blood. Blood is thicker than water. Nice. Yeah, right. So I would flip this around. I would say, go, listen to the preaching. Don't take it as gospel. Don't take it as truth, right? Just because someone says something doesn't mean you have to marry that idea. You can listen to someone and you can disagree. You can read a text and you can disagree with the text and still find it valuable to read, right? You can listen to the priests doing the preaching. But you don't have to agree with a single word. And you can go to the empty church and just sit around in the silence, right? I think both are valid approaches to life, and I would say that we have different, like, as humans, we have different interests, and right, the author, like the people who has a similar attitude to the ones presented, the one I'm reading in this text, right? Those people should go to the church when no one is preaching, right? Because that suits them better. They don't have to go and listen to the preaching, right? Except for that minimum threshold, right? That minimum threshold. You should learn to read and write. That preaching you do have to listen to. But that's not really preaching, it's teaching, right? Because it doesn't tell you how to live your life. It doesn't tell you what to read or how to write. What to write. Just learning how to do it. And then when you've learned how to do it, it's up to you how to use it. Okay. Yeah. This is a sad cat. He's not happy. Not happy one bit. Alright. We must go alone. That's very ironic, isn't it? We must go alone. If you go alone, there is no we. Right? If you go alone, there is no we. So it kind of falls apart. That's kind of, again, right, that's, I think the language of how the text is written is unfortunate, because it becomes low-hanging fruit for me. Stuff like this, that this doesn't make any sense. While the sentiment of the thing is still valuable, right? The sentiment, right? There is value in being self-reliant. The text is a lot of this language, and the language just falls apart before my eyes and makes it difficult to read and see the potential value. But I don't know what Mike says. Guess he didn't want to be too reliant on a proofreader. I actually made that exact comment yesterday, right? Oh, no editor, no proofreader. Of course there isn't, right? Because there's so many contradictions. Right? And actually the text has been arguing, right, against consistency, which I'm all fine, but not in the same text, right? In the same text, right? It depends on what the point is. If you're writing a text as a form of communication, I mean, like, this whole text kind of invalidates itself, right? So it is meant as a communication, which is a connection to others, right? Then making it make sense, right? Communicate your ideas in a way that they understand would make sense to me, right? I suppose I could see someone writing a book for their, like, only their own benefit, but that would be a journal, right? And this does not look like a journal. This looks like poetry and rhetorics. All right. So let us always sit. Why should we assume the faults of our friends or wife or father or child? Assume? I don't think that's the same as assume that I usually use. They sit around our hearth, or said to, right? Why should their faults be our faults, right? Why would we have to follow our friends or wives or fathers and children? Yeah. He fucking, like, the author kind of hates his own family, right? And just wants to get rid of them. Right? And, I mean, that kind of makes sense, I guess. I don't know a lot about history, but I would say that, yeah. Right, of divorce becoming more and more popular is probably a good thing. Right? I think I've been watching too much true crime as well. It's fucking always a husband murdering a wife. That's what it is. A husband murdering a wife. Why don't you fucking just divorce? Right? If you feel this type of hatred and whatnot, just divorce. Just fucking leave. Kick him out. Whatever. If you're a self-reliant person, well, they like this would probably not argue for the murder. This text would probably just argue for just leave, just fucking leave. Which is, I think that's fine. All men have my blood, and I have all men's. Good point. Yeah, sure. But there are... the blood is... in these times, it's a metaphor, right? But I kind of like that point. But also the apple doesn't fall far from the tree and whatnot, right? So I have more of my father's blood than I have of your blood, for example. Yeah, I've got more of my father's blood. But I would say, sure. I have all men's blood. Ooh. That actually sounded very funny, because a period in Swedish is called mens. So I have men's blood. Ah. Gross. Not for that will I adopt their petulance or folly, even to the extent of being ashamed of it. If you find that, right, here I come in again, right, with my ethics and etiquette and whatnot, and I would say, right, if you feel that harshly about family or friends or whatever, then yeah, maybe speak your piece. Yeah, say your piece, and maybe that will lead to a divorce or something similar, right? And that would be fine. Banana Waffle Monkey says, oh, does the word menstruation? Ah, have Swedish roots then. They probably have the same roots. I don't think they are Swedish, but that is the word, yeah. That is the word, and it's just been shortened over time because saying menstruation is so long, so we just say mens. But that is the actual word, yeah. I don't think that's probably like Latin or something like that. Google says Latin from mensis, meaning month. That makes a lot of sense, yeah. Meaning month. Yeah, that time of the month, indeed. But your isolation must not be mechanical, but spiritual. That is, must be elevation. At times the whole world seems to be in conspiracy to importune you with emphatic trifles. Sometimes it feels that way, yeah. Friend, client, child, sickness, fear, want, charity, all knock at once at thy closet door and say, come out unto us, but keep thy state. Come not into their confusion. The power men possess to annoy me, I give them by a weak curiosity. No man can come near me but through my act. What we love that we have, but by desire we bereave ourselves of the love. That is something that I've been trying to live more and more by, right? Try to internalize. This, because this is the this is a Stoic idea, right? The Stoic idea that just says that, well, all your states emerge from within, right? What someone else does is not in your control. Your own actions are, right? Your own actions and your own thoughts somewhat are in your control. Someone else's actions, not really in your control. So, by keeping your state, right? If you can keep calm and collected when all these shit happens, you can become a, like... Yeah, you can do useful stuff. Do the stuff that you want to do, right? Not letting emotions control actions. But instead taking a break and letting... Yeah. Making a choice. Having the agency. Yeah, having the agency. But there are, I would say also, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in your state that you're not in control of. Like menstruation, for example. That time of the month, that's not under your control, right? Can't keep your state, and a lot of stuff like that. There are a lot of stuff that happens within as well that is not under your control. If we cannot at once rise to the sanctities of obedience and faith, let us at least resist our temptations. Let us enter into the state of war and wake Thor and Woden. Where does this come from? Isn't it just Odin? Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Because, right, the days of the months. Thursday is Thor's day, right? And Wednesday is Odin's day. Maybe? Well, actually, now that I think about it, I think Wednesday comes from somewhere else. In Swedish, it's Odin's day. And Thor's day. And Freya's day. And Tyr's day. And the moon's day. Saturday and Sunday, I don't know. Well, Sunday, obviously, is the sun's day. The sun and the moon. Sun, moon. And then there's a lot of Aesir faith dudes. Like Thor and Odin. Courage and constancy in our Saxons' breasts. This has... Wait. This kind of feels like the text is trying to be sarcastic, but I'm just missing it. This is to be done in our smooth times by speaking the truth. Check this lying hospitality and lying affection. Wait. No, it's not sarcastic. It's actually truthful, right? Weird. Check this lying hospitality and lying affection. Live no longer, right? Can people not be hospitable or affectionate? And that's kind of weird, right? It kind of feels like the text is saying that people are not, like when they are hospitable and affectionate, they are lying. Which is... That's a bleak lookout at the world, right? No affection. Also, not... I can't integrate that in my understanding of the world. We have good feelings and bad feelings towards others. Live no longer to the expectation of these deceived and deceiving people with whom we converse. Say to them, O father, O mother, O wife, O brother, O friend, I have lived with you after appearances hitherho. Oh, right, yeah. That I can get behind. If you are the lying, right. If you are the lying, if you don't have the affection, then yeah. Yeah, definitely get that divorce. I was misunderstanding. I thought the text was talking about others, but if you feel that you do not like being hospitable or affectionate to, or if you don't are these things, then yeah, definitely. Stop that lying. I would agree with that, indeed. Henceforth, forward, I am the truths. Be it known unto you that henceforward I obey no law less than the eternal law. So what is said eternal law? And there must be arguments, right? That's actually what I was thinking about, right? There must be arguments for following the law, right? Just thinking about serial killers again. I will have no covenants, but proximities. To nourish my parents, to support my family, I shall endeavor to be the chaste husband of one wife. But these relations I must fill after a new and unprecedented way. That's his personal thing, that he shall endeavor to do these things. I mean, that's great and all, but sure. I appeal from your customs that I must be myself. I cannot break myself any longer for you or you. Yeah. If you can love me for what I am, we shall be the happier. Yes, indeed. If you cannot, I will still seek to deserve that you should. No, there is where I differ. That is great, yeah? If you can love me for who I am, that's great stuff. If you cannot, well, let's part ways. And do it, like, don't do it with hostile and truthful intent, just like, yeah, right. If the reality is harsh, maybe cushion it and just say, well, it's time for a divorce. Don't say, like, oh, I fucking hate you now. Right? There's no need to say that, right? You can be honest and truthful and say it is time for a divorce. Right? Express your emotions like that. I will not hide my tastes or aversions. Yeah. And I think that's rude. See, be true to yourself, yes. Be self-reliant in your own thoughts and feelings, right? Learn. Like, introspect. But still, be polite. Don't be a dick. In the name of truth, right? That's kind of what the text is saying, right? Be a dick in the name of truth. Like, I will so trust that what is deep is holy, that I will do strongly before the sun and the moon whatever inly rejoices me, and the heart appoints. If you are noble, I will love you. If will not hurt you and myself by hypocritical attentions, if you are not. If you are true but not in the same truth with me, cleave to your companions. Nice. I will seek my own. Also take care about this, right? There is value in that, as like in that self-reliance, but it can get out of hand as well, right? Because this is how you build filter bubbles, right? This is how you build filter bubbles. I do this not selfishly, but humbly and truly. It is alike your interest and mine and all men's, however long we have dwelt in lies, to live in truth. Does this sound harsh today? You will soon love what is dictated by your nature as well as mine, and if we follow the truth, it will bring us out safe at last. That is just not the case, right? The serial killers again, right? If you always just go straight, right? Just pure instinct and try to live by that, it does not always lead people out safe at last. It does not, right? Again, look at the children. They are fucking cruel, and there's a lot of suffering and bullying going around. And hostility, right? Look at adults. We become hostile as soon as we start talking politics. It does not lead us to safety. Especially if you're all rude about it. Right? Politeness has value. But so you may give these friends pain. Yes, but I cannot sell my liberty and my power to save their sensibility. Right? Again, very black and white. Very black and white. Besides, all persons have their moments of reason when they look out to the region of absolute truth. Then will they justify me and do the same thing. Absolute truth. I don't know. I don't know about that. How far are we? Oh, I'm a bit tired, so I'm gonna just stop in the middle of... What was this thing talking about? Life only avails having lived. Right. Maybe it'll just stick here. Let's hope it sticks there. But yeah, it's time for lunchtime.
It's the deep breath before the plunge.
Alright, so yeah. Thanks for hanging out today. And yeah, have a good one. And see you next time. Cheers.